What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Saturday, February 11th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay, guys, let's take a look at this 8-game NBA slate tonight. At the point guard position, the stud that I like is Trae Young from the Atlanta Hawks playing the San Antonio Spurs, who have the worst defense overall, give up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Trae Young has averaged 47.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 36 minutes per game with a 33% usage rate. He's projected at 44.5 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can easily score 50 fantasy points or more and get you over 5 times value. He's 9,500 DraftKings salary, 200 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 239 points scored in this game, so we got a high-scoring game and a fantastic matchup, and Trae Young has scored 66 and 46 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 38 and 35 minutes. Let's see how he's done against the Spurs. So Trae Young has scored 42, 62, 50, 33, and 56 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Spurs. So 3 out of his last 5 he would have hit value. I think he's got some pretty good upside here. I think he can actually come close to 60 fantasy points or more in this game. Loving this stud pick. So I like Trae Young here versus the San Antonio Spurs. Okay, another point guard that I like is Markelle Fultz from the Orlando Magic playing the Miami Heat, who have a good defense overall. They've been good versus opposing point guards, but Markelle Fultz has averaged 28.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. He's projected at 31.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.4 times value. He's 5,800 DraftKings salary. He's 900 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 217.5 points scored in this game. And Markelle Fultz has scored 29, 36, and 29 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 31, 31, and 35 minutes. And he scored 25 and 37 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the Heat. So I like Markelle Fultz here versus the Miami Heat. Okay, another point guard that I like, we gave you this play yesterday and he worked out really well. It's another value play. They didn't raise his price on DraftKings for some reason. It is a back-to-back, but the price is so low and the matchup is good. So I like Collin Sexton from the Utah Jazz playing the New York Knicks, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, give up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. So with Mike Conley moved out of Utah, Collin Sexton going to play a lot of minutes, and he's got pretty good upside, as you'll see in a moment. So Collin Sexton averaging 22.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 24 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. His minutes in production are way up now that he's taken over a larger role. So he's projected at 28.9 fantasy points here tonight. And on DraftKings, that is 7.2 times value. He's only 4,000 DraftKings salary, 1,500 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 228.5 points scored in this game, and Collin Sexton has scored 44, 38, and 11 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 36, 31, and 25 minutes. So you can take a look at those last 2 games with no Mike Conley playing over 30 minutes and scoring really well here. What a monster game he had last night
at only 4,000 DraftKings salary, putting up 44 fantasy points. So it is a back-to-back, but he should get plenty of minutes here. So I love this DraftKings play. So I like Colin Sexton here versus the New York Knicks. Okay, everyone, it's time to announce the winner of our $25 weekly PayPal giveaway. And the winner is Destiny Henderson. Destiny Henderson, congratulations. You are the winner of this week's $25 PayPal giveaway. Please reply to our comment to collect your prize.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won. And then we'll send you $25 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I like Terry Rozier from the Charlotte Hornets playing the Denver Nuggets, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Terry Rozier has averaged 37.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 36 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He's projected at 42.9 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.7 times value. He's 7,500 DraftKings salary, same price on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 237 points scored in this game, and Terry Rozier has scored 40, 41, and 40 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 35, 36, and 36 minutes. Now, it is a back-to-back, but he's a young guy. He should have no problem here in this game. It's a good matchup, so I like Terry Rozier here versus the Denver Nuggets. Now, another shooting guard that I like is Bradley Beal from the Washington Wizards playing the Indiana Pacers, who have the 5th worst defense overall, give up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Bradley Beal has averaged 37 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 33 minutes per game with a 28% usage rate. He's projected at 38.8 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's 7,400 DraftKings salary, 500 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 234 points scored in this game. And Bradley Beal, he came back last game, scored 46 fantasy points in 32 minutes. And he has scored 54 and 40 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the Pacers. So fantastic matchup here. I think he's way underpriced. I think he can easily score 40 fantasy points or more in this matchup. So I like Bradley Beal here versus the Indiana Pacers. Now, another mid-range play that I like, although he is on a back-to-back, is Caris LeVert from the Cleveland Cavaliers playing the Chicago Bulls, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Caris LeVert has averaged 25.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. So he's projected at 24.5 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 30 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. He's 5,400 DraftKings salary, 300 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 219.5 points scored in this game. Caris LeVert has scored 38, 32, and 29 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 30, 29, and 26 minutes. Now, it is a back-to-back. Let's just take a look at the scoring log here and see how he's done on previous back-to-backs. Let's see here. He played 31 minutes versus the Rockets, and then the next night he played 37 minutes versus the Thunder. So that looks good. He should be good to go for minutes. So I like Karis LeVert here versus the Chicago Bulls.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like Andrew Wiggins from the Golden State Warriors playing the LA Lakers, who have the second worst defense overall, give up the fourth most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Andrew Wiggins has averaged 31.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 22% usage rate. He's projected at 33.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.3 times value. He's 6,300 DraftKings salary, 400 more on FanDuel, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 238 points scored in this game. Andrew Wiggins has scored 47, 31, and 9 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 36, 31, and 28 minutes. And he scored 39, 20, 26, 33, and 31 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Lakers. So I like this matchup. So I like Andrew Wiggins here versus the LA Lakers. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. I like Denny Avdija from the Washington Wizards playing the Indiana Pacers, who have the 5th worst defense overall, give up the second most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Denny Avdija has averaged 23.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 26 minutes per game with a 16% usage rate. He's projected at 27.7 fantasy points here tonight. I think he can score 30 fantasy points or more in this matchup, get you 5 times value or more. He's 5,900 DraftKings salary, 400 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 234 points scored in this game, and Denny Avdija has scored 39, 25, and 44 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 36, 30, and 34 minutes. So I like Denny Avdija here versus the Indiana Pacers. Okay, moving on to the center position. Here's a value play. I like Zach Collins from the San Antonio Spurs playing the Atlanta Hawks, who have the 6th worst defense overall, give up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing centers. Zach Collins has averaged 22.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 21 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He's projected at 31.8 fantasy points here tonight. That's 7.7 times value. Now that projection might be a little bit high. He did have a fantastic game last game. It is a back-to-back. I'm expecting him to have another good game here tonight. But I think 31.8 fantasy points tonight I think that projection is a little bit high, but he doesn't need much to hit value here. He's only 4,100 DraftKings salary. He is 1,500 more on FanDuel, so I love that DraftKings price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 239 points scored in this game, and Zach Collins has scored 49, 18, and 12 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 35, 19, and 12 minutes. So the game to look at is last game where he played 35 minutes, and that was last night. So we'll see how he does on the back-to-back, but I have a feeling they are going to feed the hot hand here, and they're going to play him plenty of minutes, and his price is still super cheap on DraftKings, so he's got some monster upside. So I like Zach Collins here versus the Atlanta Hawks.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.